Welcome back to the Future Leaders podcast. We help you gain insights into the minds of successful business owners. Today we're joined here with a very special person who has Gold Coast born, and he's built himself up to an outsourcing company with over 4,000 employees, servicing over 1,000 companies. He's a leader in the industry, in the country. Nick Sinclair, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Super cool to be here.
Mate, I'm ecstatic. It's a long time coming, this one.
You missed the most important thing during the intro, that he helped us from the very beginning to what it is today.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be working in this company for the first corporate job that I was working in, and he's helped us build up Forge into what it is today. He allowed us to use the offices to host all the events, and thank you so much. We would not be here without you and everything you've been able to do for us.
Super excited to be part of the journey in some way. And I remember seeing your post when you did it at the backyard or the balcony of someone's house. And that's when I said, if it keeps growing, you can use the office. And then suddenly you're filling this and then you're moving out. I'm like, geez, this is it really took off. So well done on what you guys have built. I think it makes a massive difference. I never had anything like that when I was around. It's, business is lonely, and particularly when you're young and motivated, getting around other people that are like that rather than, the party crowd or going other ways is super, super critical.
Yeah. So talk to me about TOA. What is it, and how have you gotten over 4,000 people behind one clear goal, one clear vision?
Yeah, so we provide accounting firms with full-time dedicated employees. So in essence, we provide them with talent in other countries. So Philippines, soon to be India, Colombia, Sri Lanka. We've got a small team in South Africa as well. But in essence, we provide them with talent. There's just such a labour shortage in America and in Australia and New Zealand, all over the world, to be honest. So we've been able to fill that need. And be able to expand and grow over the years. So we've got teams in America, teams in Australia, and obviously in those other countries as well.
Cool. Why do you think there is a talent shortage around the world?
We work in just the accounting niche. So in that niche, accounting isn't seen as sexy. It's not seen as a real cool career to go into, and one where you'll be able to, grow an income that's, better than most other industries. But it is a recession-proof industry. It's one thing about accounting is that it will be forever needed, but it's not seen as that. So we've seen declining numbers for over 20 years going into the accounting courses, degrees. So you've got a massive decline, but every business has a finance function. Yeah. Every business needs an accountant. So you've got an industry that has supply, and there's just not enough supply of talent. So we've just seen that arbitrage, and it continues to get worse and worse. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of accountants short each year in just America.
Well, I studied accounting, and I'm not even close to accounting at the moment. It's purely, and some of my mates, they're working at KPMG, and they're trying to get out as quick as possible. They're sick of doing BASTers. It's not the most luxurious profession ever, but for some people, the economy needs it though.
Look, if you look at most large public listed companies, most of the CEOs have had a CFO or finance background. There's a huge amount of them that have. So I think finance is a critical part. I think not a lot of people want to, like your mates, that want to go through and do the hard work, I'll call it, because it's not the most enjoyable work, some of that, to get to that point where you are a partner and a senior person. It's a very different career. It's big hours. It's a different type of work. And if you're someone that's, wanting to get out in the world, not just sit behind and really produce numbers in the first 4 or 5 years, then you are going to get bored and want to leave. It's a really rewarding career though for those that stick with it. And, partners of big firms earn significant money. It's rewarding in financials, but I think it's more that finance knowledge. You can apply that if you're a business owner. This is one of the biggest challenges. I ran an accounting and financial planning firm for 12 years, and one of the biggest problems that I had with our clients was they had real little understanding to none around their personal finances or what the business P&Ls meant. So they'd be like, I'm making lots of money, but I've got no cash. And it's like, yeah, because cash is king. Revenue is vanity, and cash is obviously sanity. So people don't understand that. And I think that if you have that finance background, if you can understand your financials and the levers of growth within a business, you will far outperform someone that has no idea about money.
So speaking of knowing your financials, for people listening at home, building a business and just have no idea what to do, what's one of the where's the place where you can start when you're saying, hey, I want to be able to track how I can get a certain profit margin? How can I work to a certain profit percentage in my business?
Yeah, look, I think YouTube's a great resource. Go there. I mean, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I recommend everyone reads that. Like, I read that when I was a teenager, and I think that just gives some real basic fundamentals. There's lots of great accounting books out there and resources, but I just say go online and just learn and understand it. Like, I think the key one is learning the levers within your business, because businesses, you know, your P&L is great. It's understanding that it's quite straightforward once you understand it, but it's really understanding, well, what are the key levers within a business to be able to accelerate growth? Because you don't normally need to do that many things. It's either sales, you know, more sales and marketing. Yep. It's operationally, how do we become more efficient within that from a leverage point of view and growth? And then ultimately that should spit out profitability. But if your pricing's wrong, then your profitability is not going to be there. So there's only certain levers, and all of that, that's the great thing. There is so much education out there on it. Like, I don't spend a lot of time on that because I've got an amazing finance team that's done that for me for close to 20 years now. So I just look at certain metrics and key numbers, but for anyone that would be new, that just go and get really good at that, because if you understand what financially drives your business, then you will be around in 10 years. A lot of people, I see this with a lot of young people, you know, start making money, go and buy a flash car or a flash watch or all this stuff that actually matters or doesn't really matter or make any difference. But yet the business isn't even profitable because they got cash in the bank. They think they're making money.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they get this tax bill at the end of the year and it's like, well, hang on, how do I pay this? I don't have any money. Like, we see a lot of people that, you know, buy rubbish, but they're not truly profitable. And that's just because they don't understand the financials. They go, oh, we got money in the bank. But yeah, you might, but at the end of the quarter, you've got to pay, you know, 500 grand in GST, but they don't know that. So they just think they got all this money in the bank. So for me, that's just a foundational skill set which again, going back to the original question, is that's why I think accounting is so critical and so important. I think that taking it out of the school curriculum was a bad thing. I mean, and I'll put this on the record, I hate school. Like, I hate academics. Like, I'm not that guy. I never was. I did enough to pass, but I wish at school they taught me about how to actually manage money in the real world.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, we were on, when was it? On Wednesday. On Wednesday, we went down to Silkwood, which is a school on the Gold Coast, which basically is like an alternate way of teaching.
Yeah, it's different, yeah.
They had a bunch of year 7s to 9s, and they were all pitching different businesses, running stalls, and it was the coolest thing ever. Like, it genuinely gave me hope for like what's possible. So obviously you've got kids yourself.
Yeah.
Was Silkwood around when you were making a decision for like where you wanted their education to be?
No, but I mean, where my kids go to school, they have a similar thing where they do build a business basically into that. My son at the moment's going through that. I think his team's number 1 or 2 for revenue at the moment. So I think those programs are good, but I'm talking more fundamental about just how to manage cash. Like, when you earn money, don't just spend it. Like, bank account setup, like just having an account where you've got your spending money, an account where you've got for bills, like just real structure around simple stuff. But most people don't do it. Like, if you look at the average person in Australia, have got credit card debt, not money in the bank. So it's like, how do they not even have $1,000 in savings for when something does go wrong, which it does, like your car breaks down or you have something with your health or whatever it is. Just real 101 basics, but most people don't get it right. And that's why in my early days, I love financial planning. That was the business I had, because it was teaching people, you know, I would have AFL players, I'd have NRL players, I'd have all these people that looked like they were really rich that had nothing but debts. They had all the flash cars, all the flash houses, all the fancy stuff. But yet I would, like, when they walk out, I'd be like, this is just a mess. Like, we need to help them actually get some foundational wealth, because, you know, footy players only have a certain life in sport, and they're earning, you know, 800-900 grand a year, but they've got nothing but debt. But they look good because they're driving a Maserati and they look cool, and they're, you know. So for me, that really taught me early days around the foundations of, you know, you don't need to be flashy, just be basic, just do your thing, work hard, build your thing in private. You don't need to go out there and shout out there and show all this, what I call rubbish. Most of the people, to be honest, like, I've been lucky enough to grow this. I say lucky enough, I've worked my ass off for 20 years to get to where we are, and it looks like it's an overnight type thing. But, you know, I look at a lot of business owners that I know are doing significantly less revenue, and they're driving all the fancy cars and showing all this rubbish. And I'm like, there's no substance behind that, because most people that are growing real big businesses, they're not like that. You know, look at Simon Beard. I'll use him from Culture Kings. Like, he grew a $600 million business, one of Australia's most successful entrepreneurs. And it was only really at the back end of when he had that money that he actually went and bought the toys and the house and all that sort of stuff. He worked his ass off to get there. But yet these days it's easy to just go and buy that rubbish. And I think people get so distracted by that stuff because you start earning money and it's like, well, this is something I've never done before. And you just go off course. So it's like, no, stick to what you're focused on and stick to who you are. Money just amplifies you. If you're an arsehole, it just amplifies it. If you're a good person, then you'll be an even better person. And I think that's a big lesson for me along the way.
Yeah. So when you were like growing your business, growing yourself, I assume now you've got a bit of a dashboard to see how the business is doing, not just from the cash flow and the revenue side of things, but I assume there's other metrics that you look at as well. What are those metrics that as a whole that other business owners can start to look at and be like, hey, this is like the areas that I should be focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very data driven. So, I mean, our business has got over 70 dashboards. Every area operationally has dashboards, and I have one dashboard that I look at, which has 6 key metrics. So for me, it's around, every business should have one number. I was actually mentoring a large business on the Gold Coast about this a couple of weeks ago because they don't have any metrics in their business. It was a really cool business. I won't say what we came up with a metric was because it'd give it away, but basically every business has one number that actually matters. And I always say this, if I was on an island with no communication at all, but I could get sent this one number, I would know whether the business is performing or not. And for us, it's called net commencements, which is how many people do we have, how much growth do we have in the business for people. So we obviously recruit new people and we have team members that leave. So the net of that is at what we call net commencements. Do we have 10 people joining us and 6 leaving, which means our net commencement is 4. Yeah. So for that, if I got that one number and I only got that once a month, I would know whether the business was on track or not. There's a lot of other numbers around that actually drive and support that. They're lead indicators. To that is really a lag indicator. It's the result after all these other activities are done. But every business has one number. But most businesses don't understand what that number is. And for me, once you work that out, then you can have, because dashboards are great. I mean, we've got a whole data team. I mean, you're involved in our tech area of the business, so you understand it. But, you know, we've got a large tech team and you can build thousands of dashboards. But if people are just going deeper and deeper and deeper in data, and it's irrelevant to a point because you can analysis paralysis. It's what are the actual numbers that drive your business? And for us, it's sales. Before sales, you've got to get leads. So it's leads, then sales. And then for the big one after that for us is attrition. So how many team members are resigning and leaving? And then from the client side, how many of those are getting replaced? So if we have 10 people leave, do the clients replace all 10 or do they only replace 5? And then we've got placements, which is recruitment. So how many people have been recruited in the month? Because that will then flow into they'll start. And they're our key numbers. So they're the real drivers that I look at within the business. And then I look at the financials once a month. And there's a bunch of other dashboards and that. But if I want to look into attrition, for example, and go, all right, how many people are leaving and why are they? And have they been a team member for 1 year or 5 years or 10 years? We've then got dashboards to dig deeper into that. So for me, when I talk about this, most business owners have no idea. And if you're younger and starting in business, my only advice is just understand the drivers of the business, which goes back to the original comment earlier, and then just report on those and track it. But it should be one number. Like it should get down to as simple as one number. And, you know, scaling up is a great methodology. Traction's another methodology for people starting in business. That's where that one number comes from. It comes from those methodologies. And for me, that's all I need.
No, I like it. You touched. It says like from that, there's 6 key metrics that you have. A lot of them are on your people side of things. Yeah. Which like Isaac always raves about the culture in TOA. I can see it from the outside as well. What does culture mean to you, and how can you quantify the culture that you've been able to build in TOA?
Yeah, look, culture's an interesting thing. We've always wanted people to drink the TOA Kool-Aid. So that's been a big thing for us, is to attract the best talent, you need to have people drinking the Kool-Aid, meaning they want to work here. But culture's an interesting thing. Like, we've had good cultures over the years. We've had cultures that have been toxic and absolutely horrible. And the one thing I learnt along the way is that culture is ultimately prescriptive and it's easy to build. So culture is just a process. But for example, if you don't have standards, standards are just created and creep in by the team. So if you have set very clear standards that people follow, then that builds a culture of accountability, of success. If you have low performers in your business and they're allowed to stay, that creates a culture of, we're okay with people that aren't that good. If you've got a culture of only high performance, then you'll attract that, and people that don't fit that will leave. So culture to me is critical for success. Like, I look back in the early days of my accounting and financial planning business, we were 10, 15 people. Like at one point, we started with me and then just grew. But it's easy. Culture's easy for the first 10 employees because you're around. Like, everyone's around and you can direct and prescribe and stop culture that you don't want happening. As you get beyond 10 people, it becomes harder because then you're relying on the rest of the team to drive a culture. And like, if you've got a clock in, clock out culture, a 9 to 5 culture, like, I don't have to come here and say, look, I expect you to work more or less. But if you high performers and high achievers don't do minimum. They're normally like, if you go and watch any professional sporting team, after practice finishes, you see the kickers doing another hour of kicking, because they want to get those 1%ers that are going to make the difference in overtime in a final that wins the game. You want that in a workplace. But you can't tell people to work longer hours. You can't tell them to do the extras. But if you attract people that do that and you create that culture, but then, so for me, high performance is that, if everyone's a 9 to 5 worker, that worries me because we've hired the wrong people. But equally, I don't want people here for 15 hours a day because they're not managing their performance properly. They're going to burn out. They're probably doing long hours, but they're not as efficient as they can. So it's, how do you balance both? But culture is basically process. It's being prescriptive. It's designing what you want. And, I learned in the early days when I like to joke around. I'm not the most appropriate. I'm pretty black and white. And, the way that I was behaving created a culture here, because I remember this one time where one of our clients is being an absolute arsehole to one of our teams here. And I just said to the person that I was doing that, I'll call them. This is not acceptable. We have a no dickhead policy. And this guy's a dickhead. So we're going to fire him. And there's no way that you should ever be spoken to like that. So I rang him. I was very direct. I was very, direct is probably the easiest way to say it. And we fired him. And I use that as an example. And, but what happened is that I then went away and then the team kept doing what they were doing. And then suddenly they started treating clients. Anytime a client would be a little bit more firm with them, they would be like, this guy's a dickhead, we need to get rid of him. And they started treating them, our clients, poorly. And I looked at it and went, well, my example of what I tried to set, they've now taken it too far, and I allowed it because they just saw me going, oh, we've got a no dickhead policy and all this sort of stuff. And they saw, oh, that's the right way. And I'm like, no. The customers are the most important. We need to provide excellence. We need to provide them with a service. We don't, everyone pays for a service, but what they should get from us is an experience. But we weren't delivering that, because then suddenly anytime a client pushed back or said something was wrong, we just took it as, no, the client's an idiot, as opposed to going, their problem's our problem, and they've got a problem because we're not delivering even the level of service that they're paying for, let alone the experience that they should be getting. But our team culture shifted to go, oh no, the client's always wrong. So it can easily creep in. And that's why I think having very clear service standards, having very clear rules around how things work, setting the example, setting the standard that you want. Like, if you come into this office, you'll see me changing the water. You'll see me 5 years ago when we were in a different office to this one, I had 6 people in the boardroom getting onboarded, and I was pushing desks around, setting chairs up. Like, there's nothing that is, if no one else, like if I expect someone else to do something, I do it myself. Like, I think that's the type of leadership that I want, is that I'm not above everyone, that I sit in my office and they do everything. Like, I'll help out and do anything. And I think it's that humility of, if you want to be a leader and you want to set a culture of, you know, the standards you set are the standards people walk past, well, if the kitchen's dirty, clean it. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're the CEO, whether you're the office manager, like, just do it, because those standards, people see that. And when they see you doing things like that, they're like, oh, well, if he's doing it, I should be as well. So I think culture for me is, you know, at the end of the day, every business is a human-based business. Humans power every business. So if you have a good culture, you'll win. If you have a bad culture, you'll lose. Look at sporting teams. You know, look at the NRL, Melbourne Storm, Brisbane Broncos, you know, Penrith Panthers. They're always successful for a reason, and they've just built cultures of high performance. And for me, that's the approach I try and take with business. And at times we've definitely got it wrong. Like I said, we've had good, the bad, and the ugly. We've had everything. But, you know, I ultimately want people drinking our Kool-Aid, being excited about where we're going, because that flows through to how we deliver to our clients and our team members.
How do you get them excited about the future, like to drink the Kool-Aid? Because I agree with you, and I could see like Isaac was drinking that every day he was here, and he loved it because you got him so inspired about the direction that TOA was going. But how do you communicate the direction in a clear way without overstimulating or overcomplicating it for your employees?
I mean, I'd love to ask Isaac that, because it's not like, well, I don't walk around every day talking about our future.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'd love your take on that, and then I can definitely give you where I think a business owner should be.
It's somehow, I mean, JC, Jeremy Clements, he's just a master of just
he's good.
I like using the word manipulation, because people say manipulation is a bad thing, but it's positive manipulation and getting people to think the way you want them to think.
Yeah.
He's an amazing way at maneuvering people in a way that works and that builds an amazing culture. I think it comes down to, it wasn't always just forced down his throat, but it was enough where you had time to breathe. You're still able to go through day to day, but it wasn't like, we're going here, let's go full guns blazing. We still had the assumption that the culture was moving that way and everybody was working hard to work towards the goal. But it wasn't about like, this goal's here, now this is next, come on, go. It was more, okay, this is the direction we're going and such. And I think the Thank You Thursdays or those Wednesdays was a really good thing that we did, which is just getting a check-in from all the different parts of the business. So you understand, okay, cool, we're all tracking in this way. And instead of just being in your little department where your blinders are on and that's just what you're focusing on, you see from a wider perspective where everything's going. You're like, wow, this is epic. We're doing it. And there's all these cool moving parts, and it's all working holistically into this great vision. So instead of it being you powering everything that's going on, it's more you're playing your part to help move the whole thing in that direction. It's not this big audacious goal anymore. It's you're doing your little part in order to move all towards that collective goal.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's lots in that if you unpack it, if you read Scaling Up, the meeting rhythms, the cadences, all of those things matter. So we do strategic planning, we do quarterly planning, we do monthly team catch-ups, which is that exactly, you know, everyone tells how their last month was, where they're focused on for the next couple of months. From a business point of view, we communicate the overall strategy. We do monthly town halls. Like, there's lots of cadences that all flow into this one thing that just helps that to actually that everyone's rowing in the same direction. But you just need to constantly communicate. And I think that's one thing that I learned earlier enough, is that you can never over communicate the vision and get people excited by that. People will, you know, never get sick of hearing that. A lot of business owners don't even know where they're going to be in 1 to 3 years. You know, so we always set that big, hairy, audacious goal of where we want to be in like 3 to 5 years. You know, for us at the moment, we're 4,300 team members. We want to get to 10,000. That's our next 3 to 5 years. So we're getting everyone behind that of, you know, we want to create really another 6,000 careers for people across the world. So that's what everyone's getting behind. And there's a lot of, you know, new tech and new things we're doing. But, you know, when you have the future like that painted, people will then buy into that, because they're like, hang on, in my job that I'm in now, in 5 years' time, I could be a leader in this business, or I could be running a new division, or I've got a future. Most business owners, they think too small and they don't communicate. And their team members are sitting there going, well, that's great that you're making this money and you've been able to go and buy that cool car or whatever it is that you just posted online. But what does that mean for me? Where does my future look like? Because as much as, you know, my coach said this to me years ago, he goes, Nick, if someone offered all of your team 3 times the salary they're paying for you, you've created a great culture, but they're not going to stick around. Let's be real. 3 times the salary. Like if they paid 3 times the money, most of them would probably, for themselves, take that. And I wouldn't, like if someone did that, like I wouldn't be like, when you left to go for your next opportunity, I didn't like begrudge you or dislike you for it. I'm like, this is awesome. It's the next phase of where you're going. And I think, you know, you want to have a culture of success. And for me, I've always said, I want people to join us and I want them to leave as a better person. I want them to leave as a better, in their skill set of what they do, and a better human being overall. And if we can achieve that, some people are going to be with us for a long time and some people are going to be with us for a short time. But it's got to be impactful for when they do. And that for me is, I've always taken that approach that people aren't going to be around forever. Like we're not, like I'm very loyal. Like I was in one football team and I was at one surf club, and I got offered in surf club because I was in state teams and that too. I got offered money to go to other clubs and they'd buy all the equipment and that. And my club didn't have much money, and I was like, no, I'm happy to stay here. But that's who I am. And when I came into business, I expected team members to be like that too. And, you know, our grandparents, you know, would have worked for one company. They didn't job hop, they didn't change. But these days, it's like 18 to 24 months, people are moving regularly. And I was very anti that in the early days until I accepted to go, well, that's just how it is. We need to maximise what we get out of people during that time. Make sure that when they leave, they're better people. Because, and a mentor of mine, I forget who it was, once said to me, Nick, the best thing that you can see is all the people that used to work for you running all the biggest companies around in the future. Like you want that success because you know that you're a major part in that. If no one's leaving to go and do bigger things like that, then were you really that impactful? Or were you just another paycheck along the way?
You're just helping them pay their rent and their bills, opposed to allowing them to exceed to another level.
Yeah, and I think that's for me success. Like we're a large business, so we've got lots of people and we've got amazing people. I want recruiters ringing them every day. And that's also another thing that a former CEO of ours said to me once. He said, Nick, we want our team to be getting calls from recruiters, but they love it that much here that they just say no thank you. Because if they're not getting called, are they really that good?
Yeah.
Like the best talent, like in sporting and everything, is always getting calls. They're always getting offers to go somewhere else.
We got R360 coming up now.
Yeah, I mean,
all sorts of big people
you
leaving.
want that because you want people to go, you know what, thank you. I'm really, you know, thankful that you thought of me, but I love where I am, and for this stage of my journey, this is what I need, where I need to be. In the future, who knows? I might, but right now, this is the best place for me. But so you got to create a culture that is actually developing people, and this comes back to that whole thing. If you're not developing and growing the team, they're not going to stick around. They're not going to drink the Kool-Aid. But you know, culture is not one single thing. It's a range of things. You know, and all I do, to be honest, is I learn something, like from scaling up. I basically alter it to fit what we do, and we just implement it. Like, you know, I've learned a lot of things along the way by trial and error, but I read a lot. Like if you look in my office, if you look at my home, like I read a lot and I take the bits that are relevant and I implement. But this is what most people do. They listen or they read, but they don't implement. And culture is something that is built over time and will happen whether you like it or not. So you can either build something prescriptively of how you want it to be, high performance, or you can build it as something that will actually just form and it will be what it is.
Throughout this podcast, you've mentioned Scale Up quite a bit. Now, was that your book? Like that was your go-to book before you moved on to Buy Back Your Time? Because I know you take on a book and then you go with it for a very long time.
Yeah, well, I just implement everything
inside.
Yeah, so scaling up in the early days was a big, you know, it definitely had a major influence on me. But, you know, I've read hundreds and hundreds of books. Like they've all had an influence in some way. And some books I read at the time and I'm like, I'm not in the mindset where it has a major impact on me. Like Buy Back Your Time, to be honest, like I've done a lot of mentoring and masterminds and stuff with Dan Martell. So I've gone to a lot of his events, spent a lot of money on proximity, if you want to call it that. But that just came to me at the right time, because for 10 years I'd had an EA and I was optimizing it as well as I knew how. But then he gave me that extra 10%, which has made an extra 90% benefit. So for me, that's why he's been so impactful. And the frameworks in his book are very straightforward and simple. Like, he's done really well to break down something that can be quite complex into very simple frameworks, like the buyback loop and a range of different, the 3-1-1. And like, there's
playbooks.
There's just so many concepts that he has that, to be honest, Dan's learnt from other people. Like, if you look at where those concepts come from, they're actual great leaders and great authors. He's just been able to build the framework in a way that just simplifies it, and he's put his own spin and twist on it. So for me, that was just impactful at the time. And, if I look back in 5 years' time, there'll be very different books that will be impactful for me. But, I've always taken the approach that if I'm not growing and learning, then how can I expect the team to? Again, I set that standard. Personally, there's a large amount of people in this office that read a lot, listen to audiobooks. Like, they're all learning and growing. That's the culture I want. I want high performers. I don't want people that are, going to game all night and all day, and that's all they do. They come to work, get a paycheck, go home and game. Like, that's not the type of people I want, unless they're learning to game, to develop and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I mean, that's just the culture you set.
I love it. You've multiple times throughout that you've spoken about your journey, and it sounds like this has all been rooted in how you were brought up and your early childhood and in your 20s. What was that early childhood or that childhood like for you? What did you go through, and what was like some of the values that were instilled in you that you still carry on today? Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, I was massive into sport, so that's where I used high performance in that. So I was into surf lifesaving. I made the state team for that. I performed at a good level. I played, footy my whole life. I was first 15 captain at our school. Played first 15 in grade 10. I only say I did because our school wasn't that great at it, so I made the team pretty easily. But sports played a major impact on it. My parents owned small businesses, and this is probably where I got a lot of lessons. Like, particularly my father was like, my parents worked 2 or 3 jobs our whole life. There's 4 kids, like, running around. I trained every morning, like every afternoon. Like, I look back now and go, I don't know how my parents did it, because they worked not only their full-time jobs and had great careers in those, but they also worked 2nd and 3rd jobs to try and get ahead. And then they ran all 4 of us around doing sports and everything else that comes with having kids. And I look back now and go, like, that work ethic, my mum never took a sick day. I remember when I first had one of my first jobs out of school, and I chucked a sickie because I went out drinking. I don't drink anymore, but I went out and had a big night and I was caught up sick, and I still lived at home, and like, I got tore apart by her. Like, she absolutely, like, she'd never had a sick leave day in like 40 years. And so that installed really work ethic to me, and that you don't, if you're going to go out and party, get up and go to work. Like, there's no excuse to not. But I had a sick day on my, pay slip. It was like, oh, you got all these sick hours. I'm like, oh, cool, I get paid to sit at home. So that was my attitude. But so I think the values of hard work and that in that. But I also learnt, like, my dad grew and scaled businesses, but like, he would then go and buy stuff with it. Nothing out of control, but the financial side of it, he didn't have buttoned up. And, they lost everything when I was 18, and eventually they got divorced and that. And so I learned a lot of things during that time of, the way that my dad grew the business was great, but then on the other hand, he didn't have the skills to actually take it to the level he needed to. And the way that, I suppose, I just learned a lot of good and bad from it, is probably the easiest way to say it. And the lessons I took from that, I then applied to my journey along the way. And I fell back into, to be honest, some of the habits that I watched them do at some point. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to end well. Like, growth for growth's sake isn't always great. I get bored easy. So, like, really easy. I can't sit still. Like, this is probably the longest I've ever had to sit still. I'm not an academic. Like I'm not like I love data, I love theory, I love education, but I don't love the traditional schooling system. And I never succeeded at that. Like my kids joke now with the score I got from school was like pretty bad. My daughter's going to get like a really 96 to 98 ATAR.
Wow.
Like I got the equivalent like a 60 to 70 or something. Like
He didn't even look at his.
It doesn't matter.
I hate it. Like I'm just not that guy, but I'm very much theory and like on the other side, I say I'm street smart and I've learnt I suppose the rules of business and the game. But yeah, I think your childhood has a lot of positive things and a lot of negative, but I think that, you know, the problem where a lot of people get into is that those habits and values that they learnt growing up, they never actually think through it or get help talking about it to actually go, those things are probably not going to serve me moving forward. I actually need to break those habits, and deep-rooted issues that you don't even know about will show up in your business in the future. And there's been plenty of times that things are showing up and I'm like, and, you know, some of my mentors and like Dan, like is because, I mean, Dan's had if you know Dan Martell's history about obviously alcohol, drugs and, you know, juvie and all that, he talks a lot about this is that you see, like the things you see are really deep rooted from a lot of the growing up that you did. And there's been times where I've gone like, why have I acted like that? And I'm like, well, that's something that is back when I was younger. Like we had 4 kids. Like if I wanted to get more attention, I needed to act this way or do something. And it could be trivial stuff like that. And you're like, now that's showing up. I need to fix that because that's not a good trait or it's not a good habit, or people's perception of money, like easy come, easy go. Like I think a lot of people spend money because their parents may not have had anything, so they want to be able to do it. And I'll give you a great example. Like my kids have traveled more overseas than most people have in their life. Like every holidays we go away. And the big driver around that is that I wanted to give them, and I learnt this from a mentor of mine, is that I wanted to create experiences for them. So I wanted them to go and see, you know, developing countries. I wanted them to go and see Europe and America and all sorts of things to give them that experience, because you learn so much by travel. When I was growing up, I didn't have that. Like we traveled, I went to America once. My mum sold the shares in the company she worked for to basically be able to fund an American trip. And the 4 kids and my mum went, my dad stayed here and ran the sports store. So like that was the one overseas trip, and we did local trips and camping and bits and pieces, but nothing ever that. So when I started to travel, I wanted to give my kids that. But I look back and one of my kids a few years ago, I won't say which one, turned around and said, "Oh, Dad, can we just not go away for one holidays? I'm sick of going overseas." And I just laughed and I'm like, do you realise how you sound? And then I went and I started to, you know, give them a bit of a hard time. And then I went, hang on, you're the one that's put them in that position to do that. Like they flew business. They flew, like they live, like they create this life. Most of their friends would envy that, but yet that's the perception of it. But yet I never went on a holiday. So I wanted to give my kids something that I never had, but now I've created, it's not entitlement. It's just what they know. And that's what's normal for them, but it's not normal for others. So it's like, how do you balance those sorts of things? Because like I bought my daughter a brand new car for her first car. My first car, you know, I had to roll it down the hill to start it. It was $500. But I wanted her to be safe. I wanted her to be, you know, in something that I knew was if someone hits her or she hits someone, that it'll be safe. But yet, like, I never got a car. I had to work my ass off to be able to pay $500 to buy a piece of rubbish that wouldn't even start every day. I had to roll it down the hill. So it's like, well, what skills am I installing with her if I'm giving her that? But then I'm also going, well, no, how do I be really prescriptive with teaching her the value of money and the importance of it, and the other side that she's missing out on by not having to do it the hard way?
One thing I've found really interesting, particularly with all the people that I rub shoulders with Forge and everything, those that came from more money and more fortunate backgrounds, they're almost like slightly ashamed. Like they have to feel like they have to justify why they had a head start. I'm like, don't justify me why. You were fortunate enough to do it. That's an opportunity. Your parents were in a position to be able to do that for you, to give you the head start. There's no glory in doing things the hard way.
No, but we do. I think this is a massive thing in Australia, and I noticed this with obviously all the other countries we operate, and not so much with this. the tall poppy syndrome. Like we tear people down that when they're successful. And that's why I've built in private largely. Like no one outside of our industry really knows it about us. It's only in the last couple of years I've started to go out there and be more broad. Like I met someone the other day and they're like, we've never heard of your business, but you're probably one of the biggest employers or biggest business on the Gold Coast. I'm like, yeah, I've done that prescriptively. I don't need everyone to know who we are. Like that doesn't matter because it doesn't help our clients and it doesn't help our team members. I need to be well known in, like our business needs to be well known in the niche that we serve, and that's all that matters. Everything else is sort of above and beyond. But I 100% agree with you is that, you know, if you're lucky enough to have that head start, use it. I think the problem is that if you look at all the successful business stories, and like even mine, like I started in a small office, like it was, you know, the founder started in the garage, Microsoft, like all of them, they're all like this story of nothing to what they are today. There's not many stories out there that I was from a wealthy family, a family that was doing okay, and then this is what I built. Like there's plenty of those founders out there, but those stories don't get airtime because it's, oh, you only got to where you are today because you had that head start. It's no. Anyone that's built a successful business, and I think this is the key thing, when you're in business, and you would see this by all the people you guys associate with, they've all had to work their ass off to get there. I've never met a successful business owner that works 3 hours a week. Like there's plenty of those, you know, bros out there and they're all in Dubai and that now. I earn 500 grand a month. It's like, do you really, mate? Like you're kidding yourself. Like no one doesn't do the work to get the results.
They earned 500 grand for working 80 hours that month or 80 hours that week. And then next week they're like, I made 500 grand. Now I'm working 3 hours a week for this week. It's like, and then the money's going to drop down. It's like, it doesn't
and I legitimately like have a CEO that runs his business. I meet with him 1.5 hours a week. I do projects and that in it, but I don't work a huge amount in this business. So it's easy for me to go out there and say that. But, you know, for 13 years, I worked like 70, 80 hours a week. I worked 7 days a week. Like, that stuff doesn't just happen. And even when it does, like there's times where like I've been involved in a talent transformation project and I've been working like 50-hour weeks for the last 10 weeks. Like, but yet if people hear a story from, you know, I only work and I meet with the CEO once a week, they don't actually see, well, no, when you're on, and when you're off, you're off. Like I have 12 weeks a year off. Like every school holidays, I'm away with the kids. I've always done that. But the weeks when I'm here in between, I outwork everyone else. And I still overall over the year would outwork everyone. Like I still am a massive believer in outworking your competition. You know, Alex Hormozi, I got this concept from him years ago around, you know, people that work 8 hours during the day and then they go and watch TV and do all this other rubbish. They just won't win. It wasn't Alex Hormozi actually. Sorry, it was Ed Milet. And the concept is he worked an 8-hour shift in the morning. So he would get up early and he would work 8 hours. And then he would do gym or whatever. And then he'd work another 8 hours. So he was working 2 shifts a day to everyone else's 1. So at the end of the week, he did 10 shifts to most people do 5. And you multiply that and stack that over time. And, you know, Alex Hormozi is a massive one. He works, you know, good hours, but like, it's why he's doing amazing things. Like you can outwork your competition. And in the early days, I definitely wasn't the smartest. I still aren't now. I just worked. I think I outworked my competition and I just focused on the things that actually mattered.
For me, I can't remember where I got it from, but I break my 24 hours up into 3 8-hour days.
Yeah, well, that's Ed Milet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
it wouldn't have been directly from him.
But it would have.
It would have cascaded from something that I've read that they've read from him into 3 8-hour days because I've got my 9 to 5 job, forge afterwards, and then sleep. So obviously I get between 8 to 6.5 hours sleep. And then gym in between fits in there, and it's just repeat, go.
And you can outwork people. I mean, look at what you're like. You've got a good career, but you're also building what you guys have been building. And that's because you're doing the work. And I think that's the thing that the hidden thing in success is that you look at like sports. I always refer back to sports. Like there's not many Olympic champions that did the least amount of work. Like you don't become an Olympic champion unless you do the work. Like some people you can overtrain, you can work, like do too much, and it does have an impact on your performance. But the reality is that anyone successful I know has done the work. The unfortunate thing is that most people like see my journey of where I am now, but they don't see the 20 years that of stuff that I did to get here. And I think that that's part of the challenge with social media these days is you only see the people like, if you met like Simon Beard, like I truly believe he's one of the best entrepreneurs Australia's ever had. If you look at him now, one of the nicest houses in Australia, beautiful cars, great life. Like he's just bought a Lamborghini boat, like just young, cool, and got a really good business. But, for 15, 20 years, you didn't see all the work that he did. And I know him, like he works hard. Like he's smart and he's good at his craft, but he built that skill set over a long period of time.
Yeah, I met him early on, like at Carrara Markets. I actually got my hair cut there once.
Oh, wow,
like,
the early days.
Like when they had like the early days, like the first time I got my hair cut, it was a Waitangi Day, which is like the Australia Day for New Zealand. He had a stall there. I didn't know him as Simon Beard as well because he wasn't the main front guy. He actually had the head of marketing who ran his warehouse and everything. He was the main guy who talked to everybody. So I actually thought the dude who ran the marketing was the one who was running Culture Kings. Yeah. And then until he stepped out of the business was when he actually started showing who he truly was. I'm like, oh, he ran Culture Kings.
And he's a smart operator, and I'll give you the tip. His wife is phenomenal. Like she's like the operations, like she's ops, he's sales and marketing, and both of them are world class. But again, like what you just said, you don't see that. And that's the thing with a lot of businesses. The guys that are out there being the show, like most of them don't actually have the skills. Or you see people, I think there's a guy called David Fogarty, I think is another entrepreneur in Australia, like
the Udi.
Udi, like awesome business, like really young. Like if I was a young entrepreneur, like follow his content, follow his journey. But again, it's like his stuff, he came onto the scene and blew up pretty quick, like created a really successful business fast. But again, it didn't come from working 2 hours a week. Like no one, when you look under the hood, no one has ever been successful just by luck or by not doing the work. You have to do the work.
So what were you doing in your 20s to get in a position where you can eventually start TOA? Or like what were the first things that you started trying to do to develop your skills in your 20s?
Yeah, look, I probably wasn't thinking that much about it. Like I went to university, I studied environmental science. I dropped out after the first semester. I went to uni 3 times, I think, during the semester. It wasn't for me. I then went and worked in every job there was around a pizza store. I worked at a service station. I was a trolley boy in this shopping centre. I did everything because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I tried a lot of things. And then I went to start studying financial planning and investments at Griffith Uni. And I went to the student council people and said, look, do you have anyone that I could do work experience with? And I went and worked full time for someone for free.
When was this? What age?
Probably 21-ish,
Okay, yeah.
20, 21. So I went and basically started working full time for a financial planning firm, but wasn't getting paid. It was all work experience. I look back now and go, you can't do that these days, but back in that day you could. So I started working full time and fell in love with it. And then I basically was studying. It took me 7 years to get my degree in the end. They signed off on some subjects because I had the work experience, but I was hiring students from the course before I even finished the course. But I think, so in the early days, I basically did that. I worked in probably 25, 30 different industries. Like I worked, driving trucks, like, and putting them on for auctions at Ritchie's and like all sorts of things. Like I was scared. I was scared driving those trucks because I didn't know what I was doing. But I tried everything. Like I was a lifeguard. Like I did everything, just trying to work out what I wanted to do. And then I started to do this work experience, and then it turned into a job with them because I basically said, look, I've been working here 6 months and I can't keep working here full time studying and then working at nights and weekends just to pay for my rent and bills. So I ended up working with them full time, and then I was just studying. And after 6 months, I said, look, I want to become a financial advisor. I don't want to just do the admin and the paraplanning. And they said, no, you're too young. And I said, well, no, I want to do it and I'm going to leave. So I went and applied for some banks. They rejected me because I was too young. And then I went and got a job at a credit union, and then I went and worked for an insurance broker, and then I ended up going back to the planning. And I said, look, I want to be a partner. And they said, look, why don't we get you working like 2-3 days a week in your current role, and then 2 days a week you can work commission only doing advising. I was like, cool, that works for me. So I did that. And then after 3 months, I was outperforming the partners of the firm, and I went to them and I say my young and dumb. I said, look, I want to be a partner in the business, and they're like, Nick, you've been doing this for 3 months. You've had 3 good months, and I'm like, yeah, 3 good months that have outperformed both of you. I said, so I want to have equity, and they said, no way. I look back now anyway, I've had people say that to me, and I laugh and like, yeah, get lost, like, good luck to you. But I said, no, I'm serious, and I said I want to set up. I'm travelling to Brisbane for work, and I don't want to do that travel. I want to set up on the Gold Coast where I lived, and they said, well, we'll help you do that. And I said, well, what does help you do that mean? They went, well, you can use our brand, and we'll own 50%. You own 50%, but you have to pay for the office. You have to pay for all the costs. And I went, well, what are you actually bringing to me then? So then I ended up going out on my own. So I started business really young. Financial planning, you need credibility, you need age, and you need to have proven history. I had none of that. Like, I had no money. Like, literally, I was...
3 months experience.
Yeah, like, I had nothing. But, I got in and I made it happen. And I went and worked for myself, and I worked my ass off. And, the Yellow Pages, you guys probably don't even know what that is. But
we know what it is.
It's a big book, and that was how I got my clients. I rang the Yellow Pages, and I was chasing lawyers as a niche when I was a financial planner. So the law profession every month puts out who their newly graduated lawyers are, and I would send them letters, and I would contact them, and I worked my butt off, and I grew a business really quick, even though I was young. And not once did someone ask me my credentials or my age or my personal wealth. And I ended up becoming a chartered financial planner and all this. Like, I got the academics, but no one ever actually asked. No one really cares. Like, I've got the certificate somewhere, but it means nothing. So in my early 20s, I realised pretty quick, like, I wanted to work for someone else. I don't want to work for someone else. I only wanted to work for myself. I wanted to create my own future, and I got caught up in the game of business. That's how I started, and just ran from there, really.
So working for other people when you were starting out in the financial planning firms and working through it, how did it help you build your skills so then you could build your own firm?
I mean, I only did it for 6 months. I really was 6 to 12 months of working in it. That's the one part now I go, well, I probably, like, in hindsight, if I took a different approach, and I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be in life. So that was just the phase that I was in. But if I look back now and go, if I was going back again, would I change it? Well, no, because I wouldn't have got to where I am today without making the mistakes and doing it the hard way. But for advice for people that aren't in such a rush like I was is, go and maximize the knowledge you can get. Like, I wish... Like, I've learnt the hard way my whole business career because I've made every mistake because I didn't have those mentors guiding me along the way that were like, there's a saying in the PE and that whole world around, you don't know what's around the corner, meaning that, I've built this year will be just shy of 150 mil in rev, but I've never built a $300 million business. I don't know what's around the corner. So I wish that I had mentors that knew what was around the corner that would say, Nick, this is what the 4 things that you're going to need to do because this is what will happen. Like, it's almost predictable what will happen. And like, that's why I can coach and advise businesses now that are smaller than where we are because I've been on that journey. I know what's around the corner, but I don't know what's around the corner for in front of me, which is why I've got guidance and help. So to go back to your questions, if I was not in a rush like I was, and you've got so much time to build businesses and wealth. You don't need to rush like I did. And that was probably one thing I look back and go, I just wish that I was more of a sponge, that I asked better questions. I actually thought about where I wanted to be in 10 years, not just about where I wanted to be in that time. Because I didn't ask the questions. Like, I didn't get mentored enough by those guys, and they were really good at what they did compared to most. I could have learned a lot more than I did, and I wouldn't have had to learn as much as I did for the first 2-3 years in business because those guys have been in business a long time. So, for me, it's just be very clear on where you want to get and ask better questions. And most successful people are more than happy to help people out and take their time to mentor and grow them. But you just need to ask.
Yeah, you'd also need to then be the sponge and actually implement what the mentors tell you.
Yeah,
right?
and I mean, I've been lucky enough that over my journey I've been mentored by different people. Like one of the guys that owned pretty much every car yard on the Gold Coast. Like, we used to sponsor or advertise on a radio station. His companies obviously did. So we're on a trip overseas in Singapore, and I got to know him there briefly. And I said to him, look, I'd love to take you out to lunch and just learn from you. Like, I was early in my journey. I was probably late 20s, and like, he was very successful, and I thought he'd say no. And he said yes. And we ended up catching up like every month. We'd have a lunch and we'd go to this one place where all the lawyers and barristers would go, and everyone would come over, and, you know, the mayor and like the who's who were always coming over and talking to him. And then they're like, who's this young guy with you? And he would introduce me, and, you know, he's Nick, he runs a financial planning firm, and it was great. I built a lot of connections. And I said to him one day, I said, why do you have lunch with me? Like, why do you keep saying yes? Like, for me, being with you, I'm learning so much. And he said, Nick, it's a real funny thing. He goes, within his own business, no one comes and asks him to mentor him or even really talks to him that much, because he's the big guy. He's too senior, and they don't want to disrupt him, or, you know, he's running a major company, like hundreds of millions of dollars. So he goes, I love doing what I'm doing with you. He goes, I get so much out of it, but no one within my own workplace will even wants to do that, because he goes, I don't know why they don't, but I'm happy to do this. Like, I get as much out of it as you do. And I do now when I mentor people. I get just as much out of it as they do. And that for me was just, it taught me a real lesson. It's just ask. So the amount of people that I've asked to mentor me over the years now, I always just ask, because most of the time they'll say yes, or they'll say, no, I can't now because of this reason. But they'll always be respectful about it. So, you know, and some people will say, yes, I do it, but I need you to pay me $2,000 an hour, because I need you to value the effort that you're putting in. And I mentor people, and I charge $1,500 an hour. So for people that have got businesses, that's what I charge. And it's not like, I could probably charge a lot more. I could definitely charge a lot less. But I know that, one, I need to be valuable for them to spend $1,500. Like, if they're only turning over a couple of $1 million, that's a lot of money. So I need to make sure that I'm providing massive ROI to them, but also that they're really committed to, they're going, all right, I'm going to get an hour of Nick's time. I'm going to ask the questions I need to ask, and only those ones, so that I can then implement what he says and get like 100 times ROI on that.
The thing that moves the needle the most, to actually go forward, instead of just, I'm having a bit of trouble with this. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you approach things differently. Like, I spend significant money on coaches, mentors, programs. Like Tony Robbins, I was in the Platinum program. So, you know, that's not cheap. Plus, you got to travel to all the events. You know, in the early days, like, I didn't have the money that I have now to go and get into some of those rooms, because a lot of those rooms you just pay to get into. Like a lot of Dan Martell's masterminds, like I've spent, 20, 30, 40 grand US to fly over there, to be at the event, to be around it. But the people I meet there, I'd pay that every day of the week. In the early days, $100 was a lot of money for me, but get in the rooms. And that's what I love about what you guys have created, because you created the room. And it's really effective and cost effective for people to get into that room. So once you get into that room, there's always levels. Like, I don't get into a lot of rooms because our business is way too small, which for some people that are sitting there going, how's that possible? Our business isn't that big. Like, in the scheme of it, yes, we are in some ways, but I want to get into bigger rooms. So I need to keep growing, and I need to be of value. And I think that's the bigger part, is what value are you going to bring to that room? If you're just going to that room to take or to try and get leads out of it, it's the wrong approach. It's what value can you give? And then, when you're spending money on any event, whether it be $50 when you're starting out, or, I've seen people pay 50, 100 grand for masterminds. What do you want out of that? And being very prescriptive when you go there to get the answers you want. But, I wish in my early days of business that I went and found more mentors that were a couple of steps ahead of me, that I could have fast tracked, because I made every mistake. Like, I've had the worst culture in the world. I've had, financially, we were just pushing it too much, in that we were growing too fast and we didn't have the money to fund it. Like, we couldn't make payrolls. Like, we've had everything. Like, I would just wish that I had that, that mentor along the way. The great thing is now also the amount of content available, the amount of great founders and leaders that are putting out content. But the problem is they're putting it out for where they are today, not for where they were.
Yep.
And their stories are, even my story is not relatable to a lot of people, most people, because it looks big, it looks sizey, but it's like, I worked my ass off to get to build to have 10 team members and then 20, then like continue to do it.
We covered this briefly on the podcast with Ben. Talk me through COVID for TOA.
Yeah.
What was that for you, and how did you get through that?
I had an amazing team. So, I mean, and Ben was a huge part of that, Ben Vickers. I mean, that guy's like prime example, of building great culture. Like when I interviewed him, I talked about the no dickhead policy. That was I asked him, I said, why did you take a job with us? Because he'd come from a pretty good background. He'd worked in good roles, and we were like this little startup. And he's like, when you said that, I was in. He goes, when you painted the picture of where you wanted to go, and that one thing, the no dickhead policy, I was locked in. And so COVID for us was good and bad. So we had, 4 or 5 hours to move our whole workforce out of the office. So we were, over 1,000 people at that time. And literally the government said you got 4 hours. They ended up extending it to be close to the 16 hours, but they announced it at 2 p.m. By 6 a.m. the next morning, we'd had all of those team members come in, get their equipment, go back to their house. COVID was a really interesting time. At the start, some clients overreacted, put off their teams, and so we had a little dip back right at the start. Not much, but a small amount. And then it just accelerated the other way. We grew from a new business point of view more in those 2 years than we had for a long time. So huge growth, no one working in office. And then at the end of the pandemic, we had almost double the workforce we had when we went into it 2 years later. So suddenly we had to bring 2,000 people back to the office, but we didn't have enough offices. We had to then scrub every computer when it came in, clean, make sure it had no viruses, all of the logistics of COVID was really challenging, particularly in countries where we operate the Philippines. When immunisations and that came out, we provided those for our team members. We spent $500,000 to $1 million on getting, we had to do a deal with a group of other business owners to get the vaccinations from another country and bring them into the Philippines to then vaccinate our workforce. And we vaccinated our whole workforce, and the government put that onus back on us. We had a tripartite agreement where they were part of it, but we funded it and we did it all. They just allowed the vaccines and that to come in. But that was the burden on business was to do things like that. But we wanted to do what we thought was the right thing for our team members. Within our offices, we had to retrofit every office so that it was COVID safe. I think we were the first in one of the regions where we operate, Clark, to be COVID approved. So we had to put up shields and all sorts of things. It costs a significant amount of money. So while we had the best growth in a lot of years, our profitability during those times was not great because we had all this extra cost. You had this whole remote workforce. We were an in-office business. I solely believed in office only. I didn't believe in remote or any of that stuff. Everything we did was built around being in the office, and then suddenly we have this workforce of thousands of people not in the office. So, it was challenging for us as a business. It was challenging for team members. It was challenging for everyone. But I think we got through it, and we were definitely a lot better business. And I say this, and I said this to someone I'm mentoring a couple of weeks ago because their industry is going through, they're a consumer product, and it's, times are tough for them now. And I said, but this is where you grab the land. This is where you do the land grab, meaning you go out there and you take over land that you didn't have, because when it swings back the other way, you're going to accelerate. And that's really what happened with the pandemic for us, is we took this land grab of a lot of our competitors pulled back their advertising, they pulled away, or they downsized. We went hard. We put on extra senior staff. We doubled down. We land grabbed, and then we came out the other side of it, and we were streets ahead of people. So I think when times are tough, that's when you go, that's where true leaders are really born in my eyes, because that's when you can take over from your competitors, and then as soon as things swing, you get the uplift of it.
So what does leadership mean to you? Because we're creating the future leaders movement,
Yeah.
or creating an ecosystem of future leaders in their 20s. So what does leadership mean to you, and how can the future work towards that as well?
To be honest, it probably didn't mean much to me at the start. Like I was the football captain at school, and I was always like in leadership, but I never did formal leadership training. I never really read leadership books, and it was probably only, when my coach pulled me up and said, Nick, you're not really that good of a leader. Like, you're inspiring and you tell your story, and that side of it you're good, but you're very, like, I'm very black and white. Like, I will tell people how it is, and that's a great trait. But it's not in the workforce, because that can derail people. It can create bad culture. So for me, the only difference between businesses, and I've studied a lot of businesses now, the difference between like our business and some of our competitors, it's all about leadership, to be honest. Like JC, when he came in as CEO, our previous CEO was really good at sales and marketing and driving that way. JC's very operationally, like I've never seen anyone better than him. And the leadership he's been able to bring in to go less is more, slow is fast, like all of these things that operationally our business has never been better. But it's under his leadership, he makes people feel heard. He makes people feel like they're part of it. He makes people work their butts off, and he gets results. But it's his leadership style that gets him there. He's a likable person. So for me, if you want to grow something to be successful, the one skill that you really need to double down on is leadership. And I'll give you an example. There's a fable, I forget the book, but it's about, the concept is about you take people's monkeys on your back. So,
1 Minute Manager.
Yeah, 1 Minute Manager.
Yeah.
And it's the one with the monkey story.
Yeah.
I was a leader that liked to be in the game with them. So I was a captain coach. I wanted to be playing on the field, and I wanted to also be the coach while I was on the field. So what did that mean? It meant I knew the system more than they did. I knew the process more than they did. I was part of it. But what that meant is every time they had a problem, they would come to me. And guess what I did every time? I'd solve it. So all people ended up doing is bringing their monkeys to me and putting them on my back. And I kept doing that. And I thought that was a great trait. And then I'd grown a business. And to be honest, it was probably only 3 or 4 years ago where my coach pulled me up on it. He goes, Nick, you got 3,000 plus employees. You're working 60 hours a week, and the business fundamentally relies on you. He goes, you got a CEO running it, but you're still working that many hours. He goes, you just keep taking everyone's problems and making them your own. And people know that, so it becomes part of the culture where we'll just take it to Nick, he'll make the decision. And that was a lot of the stuff I learned from Dan Martell, is around that leadership style of how do you change it? How do you get them to bring 3 solutions to you with the one that they recommend? So a lot of these concepts, the 1 Minute Manager, I read that. Like I started to double down and go, I look back now and go, I was a pretty bad leader. Like I was really direct on people, but I was pretty brutal too, because I have very high standards. And I look at it, I'm like, I burnt some pretty good talent. And I'm not proud of that, because there's people that, they probably sit there and go, Nick was an absolute arsehole. Hopefully I did some things that helped their career, but, I wasn't the leader I needed to be. And I look back now and go, it's only as I've started to hire people like JC and the other amazing leaders we have, Moretta and Ian, and like I could name 20 or 30 people. We got some really, really good leaders. It made me look in the mirror and go, you know what, Nick? That's why the business is now growing at a better rate. It's why it's now successful, because I've employed amazing leaders, and I need to level up if I want to lead them. Like if I want to be a leader of leaders, I need to level my game up.
So how can people learn how and get into the game of leadership?
Yeah, I think, look, study as much as you can. And when I say study, don't go and do an academic diploma of leadership. Don't do that. It's read the books, read the biographies, study the most successful people. Like if you look at people like Jeff Bezos and all of those, they're all, from what I can read, again, I've never met them, but they're all very direct, they're very straightforward. Like Elon Musk, very high standards, very high standards. So learn from what others have done. Like Wayne Bennett, you got to meet Wayne at our conference when he spoke, like one of the best sporting professionals, coaches in history in Australia. Like phenomenal. Did you learn when he spoke?
Oh, of course. I've still got I audio recorded on my phone.
Yeah.
So I listen back to it probably every quarter. I
Like,
probably listen back to it, and
nuts.
it's just and nothing he said was revolutionary.
No.
It's basically just make sure their job is clear in what they need to do. They need to perform 1 day a week. That's all I ask for you, for your best to be on that day.
Yep.
And then when you come off the field, are you proud of your performance?
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. Like, he's this revolutionary coach that everyone says he's a super coach.
Yeah.
But it's just simplicity, connecting to the person
And
make sure
one.
they understand what their job is and they know how to do it.
But he also knows the human and he gets the most out of them. Like, he can turn a player that's average into amazing. And, Craig Bellamy from the Melbourne Storm's another guy that does that. There's plenty of great coaches, but so I mean, it's like lessons like that. Like, and to be honest, business, the most successful business people, a lot of them follow like scaling up methodologies or traction. Like, I ain't that smart. I can tell you that. So if I can build a business, the good news is for everyone listening to this, if I can build what I have, you guys can absolutely do well beyond what I've created. Like, you don't have to be academically the smartest person. You just need to apply yourself and it's the simple things. And that's why and this is something that we say to our leadership team every quarter. It's what did we used to do 5 years ago that we stopped doing, that we need to restart doing? Because people complicate things. They stop doing the things that made them successful because now they're successful. It's like, no, what got you here isn't going to get you there, but you still need to repeat the habits, the skills, and the things you did. Like, if that worked for us from a marketing point of view 5 years ago, we should still do it now, but then we should also do all these other new things. We shouldn't just stop doing that.
Well, that's just like us for last night. Everything Forge, what it was built on from the very beginning, was all about just ringing up everybody and then getting the right people in the room. And then we went down, Summit grew, we ran paid ads, paid marketing, kind of dropped a little bit. And then now we give from talking to Ryan Tuckwood and learning from him, give everybody excitement calls. So bringing back, even though it's scaling the unscalable, but bringing back excitement calls, getting people excited to be around you and connecting to the person, opposed to it being about, they just it's just a random free event, I might come. And like every single person that follows us, Campbell DMs them on our page. They talk to a real person. We could easily set up a chatbot. We literally pay for the things to have a chatbot. We probably need to cancel that. But because people want to talk to real people, there's a massive lack of authenticity right now, particularly with social media. Nobody's real. The biggest feedback we get from people, it's like, no, these guys are genuine. They genuinely want to help, and they genuinely want to be there and connect to you. They're not just about trying to collect anything. They want to be there.
But you've got to do the unscalable. Like, you've got to do the things that are not scalable, because that's what makes you unique. The difference in the challenges as you grow, it's like, how do you still do that but not have it to be you? But if you can build it where it's authentic and you do that, then you just need to find someone that is world-class at doing that can take that over from you in the future. But if you take the approach of, it's not going to be scalable, I'm not going to do it, then you probably won't be successful. Because it is, I always say, business is a game of 1%ers. You only need to be 1% better than your competitors. Most businesses deliver as much as what they're paid to do. So if you're cleaning a car, you'll clean it to the standard that is good. Like, you don't want to do a bad job, but you're not going to do the extras. But if you want to deliver, if your business is known for excellence, you want to deliver wow. Like, you want to do the difference.
It's funny that you use this example, because we got someone who's really close with us, Aaron. He runs his own, what's the business called?
Attentive detailing.
Detailing.
Cool. I've seen his stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I met him. Yeah.
Oh, you met him?
Yeah. Well, he's been at some of the events, I think.
Yeah. He's got employees now, and like one person who runs the van, which is like his like mobile operations. And every time he's got to take a photo and send it to Aaron, and then Aaron sort of approves it. And Aaron like zoomed in on this car. He's like, dude, I can't believe he left this, and there's like water in the wheel base of just like a little bit of water left in the wheel. I'm like, I didn't even see like how but it's like that attention level of detail is what has allowed him to scale up so fast.
Yeah, well, at the moment, because I'm running that talent transformation project, I'm approving every candidate that goes into this new portal. So everyone that's TOA verified, I'm signing off on. Like, that's not scalable. Like, I'm doing 100 to 200 of those a month. Like, that ain't scalable, but it's critical. And now the leader of that team, she's now approving them, and I'm basically reviewing what she puts through. And in the last 2 weeks, there's been like one that I haven't agreed with her on. So it's not scalable at the start, but I've now built a repetitive process where I can insert someone that is more skilled than me ultimately to do that and train them. And that's the key, is I've got a process, I've then trained them, and I've built that so that it is scalable now with someone else.
So what does the future of TOA look like? What is Nick Sinclair up to next?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one, because I've got it to this point now where it's like the, elusive dream of, I've built a business that doesn't rely on me, where, I'm working on a lot of strategic stuff. So like, I'm probably more excited about the next 5 years and what we could do, because we've got really capable people. Operationally, we've never been better, and we're just ready for growth. Like, our growth, we're 13 years now. We've gone from nothing to 150 million rev. We're 4,300 team members. We want to get to 10,000 in the next 3 to 5 years. So pretty ambitious growth. We call it the hockey stick growth. If you've ever seen any of that, it's academic.
But exponential.
Yeah, exponential growth. Like, we're now at the stage where we're ready to go hockey stick. But we've been like 20+% year on year, which is like, there's not many businesses do that, but we're now ready for exponential growth. So, new countries, new regions, M&A, there's a bunch of that stuff that we're going to be looking at in the next couple of years. Just more impact. Like, ultimately for me, it's about, we create careers for people in multiple countries. A lot of them are in developing countries. So we have major impact on people's lives. And that for me is the part. Like, the numbers getting bigger is just like, business is a game. And my coach said this to me, and I use this with every person I coach. I'm like, what's the number that if someone writes a check out, that you would say yes and walk away from the business? Enough to financially not have to worry about, you can just live life off whatever that is. And I asked that to someone I was mentoring the other day, and she's like, I got no idea. I've never been asked that. And I'm like, but you've been running your business for 5 years. And like, I didn't have the answer for this for probably 14 years of my life. Like, it was only when I started getting coaching 6-7 years ago, my coach asked me that. And I'm like, I don't know. I made a number up. But then I got to that, and then I made another number and another number. Like, I'm well beyond that number now. So it's like, once you get that number, it's like, why are you actually really in business? Like, why are you actually really doing it? And for me, it's the impact we make on the communities and the people that we hire. So, I'm more excited now because I can work on things that actually matter. And again, my coach said this to me years ago, Nick, you only need to make 2 decisions a year, 1 or 2 good decisions a year. And I laughed at the time. I wasn't ready to hear that. I laughed at him and said, Rafe, do you realise that I make like 100 a day? He goes, that's the problem, Nick. You're too involved. He said, you only need to make 1 or 2 key decisions that will fundamentally change the trajectory of the business. And a couple of years later, we made the decision. We brought in that accelerator program where we pre-trained talent for 7 weeks. We charged clients for it. Like, it fundamentally changed our business, put millions and millions in revenue into the business. And our competitors couldn't compete. They tried to mirror it. They tried to copy it. It's just like, it was a game changer. And that was one decision. And I look back now and like, my job is to consume, to read, to get more knowledge, to get out there in the market and see what's going on and see what's coming in 5 or 10 years and make that one decision that's just going to accelerate our business. And we've done that with the talent side of it. We're transforming now, building new tech, building a platform where you can go and get access to any accountant in the world in this platform, be able to interview, blah, blah, blah. It's a knockout punch for our competitors. They're already behind us. Now they're going to be like, see you later. But I need to make that one decision. So like, for me, that's where the future is for me. It's making those impactful decisions that will just completely change the game. And, we're 13 years into the journey and we're just starting. Like, that's the exciting part, is that, we're just getting into the major league now. Like, we're starting to play in the majors. We've been in the juniors and up until now. And I think that's the exciting part. But the good part is I've got amazing leaders within the business driving and inspiring the business. And, I got fed back to me by someone that said, oh, Nick, you're a bit too involved at the moment with this talent project. The team are hoping that you won't come into the business full time and that you just let JC run it. And I'm like, I don't know how to take that. And she prefaced it by saying, look, don't get offended by this, Nick, but there are people that are worried that you're going to come back into the business more. Because they know what I'm like. I get in deep, I get in the weeds, and and my style's pretty direct and short, and I want the best for everyone and the best outcome, but it's not always the best approach. So, having that feedback goes, no, stick to where you're good at, Nick. Just do the things that you're good at, make those couple of decisions that make a difference, employ people that are amazing leaders, and get them to drive and help their teams to be successful.
And what's amazing is from those leaders, you've given them the power to actually stand up to you and be like, no, stop.
Yeah. Well, I never did.
But you've empowered them to be able to develop that.
This is a lesson, and I think this is probably a big lesson, is that, I employed really good people and I told them what to do. And these are really capable and highly paid people. I'm not talking leaders that are running global companies and countries and that are not cheap. But I was basically employing them, and they were coming to me asking me to make the decisions. And it wasn't because they weren't capable, it's because that's how I set it up. I now employ people, I give them the framework and the structure and the strategy, and I get out of the way because I hire them to do a job. And they're world class. So get out of their way. It's like bringing on a really good sporting player and stopping them from doing that. That's what I did for probably 5 to 7 years, is I burnt really good people that I should have just got out of their way and let them do it.
Touch on this because during our sixth Forge event that we've ever had, you came and spoke to the future leaders in the room, and there was one particular topic that you shared, which was the Superman syndrome, which you're sort of touching on right now. We've found that
Every week I'm thinking about that.
Well, we bring it up multiple times. We keep sharing it, and it's like the number one reoccurring factor of what we find at Forge, where people are struggling most in their business, is they think they have to do it themselves and they think they're better than everyone else. So just touch on what does a Superman syndrome mean, and how can you work through that?
Yeah, I learned that because I used to sell insurance, and people would say to me, oh, look, Nick, I'm never going to die, or I'll never have an accident, and then suddenly it happens. So it was Superman syndrome because it will happen to other people, but not me. I'm not going to get cancer, but everyone else can. So Superman syndrome, and in business we all have it. It's like, I feel like I'm invincible. I'm in the control of my own destiny. But the problem is that a lot of people have this syndrome where, I'm a perfectionist. I'm very OCD. I'm very structured and I'm very organised, which is, for someone that does what I do and runs at the pace I do, that's not normal. I'm very structured and planned, but I'm very, I suppose, deliberate. But I think that with the Superman syndrome is that it's easier if I just do it. And we fall in that habit, and and that's why I mentioned before about the 1 Minute Manager and taking people's monkeys, because I just knew that I could do it, and I'd do it to the level that I wanted it. But the problem is, and Dan Martell, a lot of successful authors, leaders, that quote this: 80% done by someone else is 100% better than done by you. And my coach, again, I refer back to Rafe, who has been my coach for 7 years now. A lot of the lessons I learn, I probably don't learn them in that instance, but then I refer back to it. And he said to me, he goes, Nick, you need to let people crash the car. You need to get out of their way and stop jumping in front of the car every time it's going to crash. He goes, because they're not going to learn their lesson. He said, and you coming in actually just takes away their ambition to want to make the decision, because you'll come in and tell them it's wrong. Let them crash the car and learn the wrong way. Mentor and guide them, but say, look, at the end of the day, you need to make the decision, and I'll support you no matter what happens. And then when they crash the car, you can say, look, these are the 3 things that I saw. Did you see these 3 things? But if you don't let them crash, how are they ever going to learn? And, so that was a big thing that Rafe just kept pushing me, is just let them crash. He said, as long as it doesn't completely kill the business.
As long as the ship's not going to crash, they can crash.
You can run the ship on the sand dune as long as it doesn't completely, Titanic it. As long as you don't make it so that it's completely destroyed. You need to let them make mistakes, and you need to stop jumping in front of them. And that was a big thing that I learned, is that, I've got to guide them and support them, but I've also got to let them learn the hard way sometimes.
That's a big thing with our mentors. So a lot of people say they have mentors, but they just tell them what they need to do at every single point. What they'll do is they'll guide you to the right answer and say, okay, what are you going to do from here?
Yeah.
And certain things where they're like, we're like, oh, this happened, everything's all broken. It's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
we saw it happen about 6 months ago.
And that's the thing, is that you can pay for an advisor or you can pay for a coach.
Yeah.
And a mentor. And the best mentors and coaches ask questions. And again, my coach said to me, Nick, you need to ask better questions. He goes, your questions are not great. So he gave me a bunch of books to go and read to basically learn how to ask better questions. And that's a big thing now, is that, you know, I know the answer, but I don't need to tell them the answer. I need to ask them the right questions because they probably have the answer. They're just not confident in saying it with, you know, to me or whatever it is.
So what are some of the books off the top of your head that you would potentially do to help ask the right questions? Because that's the point where I think I'm at now. I know what I need to like tell somebody, but I don't want to just tell them why it will work, why it won't work. I want to be able to get them to allow them to find that answer themselves.
I don't know the actual name of the book that I'm thinking about. It's an American guy that coached pretty much most of the successful business owners, all those guys. Like, I'll give you the name of the book because I track every book I read. So I'll be able to look back. It was 3 or 4 years ago I read his book, and when my coach said to me, and it just, you know, I learned to ask things in a different way and not tell, but ask. And then, you know, if people need my guidance and support, then I can give that. But I think going back to the original, the Superman syndrome thing, is that if you want to scale and grow a business, you need to build process and systems and ultimately train people to do it to the level you want it to do. Do the unscalable at the start, build a process and system that's robust that you can then insert someone in to do so that you don't have to do it. But, you know, for probably 15, 20 years, I was doing everything. And I was working, that's why I was working 60, 70 hours a week for like 20 years, because I didn't learn that I didn't need to do that. It was because I was trying to do it. And an accountant actually said this to me, and a coach in the accounting space said this one thing to me. He said, Nick, are you investing in your balance sheet or your P&L? He goes, because if you're doing it, that's P&L. If you're investing in a person to do it, that's balance sheet, because you don't need to be the one doing it in the future. But if you're just investing in your profitability for now and you're focused on you being involved in it, then you're never going to be able to step away from the business. So, you know, I love, and this is the danger, most entrepreneurs love what they do, or we tell ourselves we love what we do, which is why we work so much. But we don't have to do as much as we do. Like, early days you definitely do. Like, you need to do the work until you can afford to employ people. I wish earlier on I let people do what I employed them to do, as opposed to was smothering them in some ways, because I was very particular. Like you just gave that example about, you know, the water running. Like, I was exactly like that. I still am now, but now I look at it and go, where's the process broken that even happened? Still have the Q&A in, like the QA checks in place, but like, where's the process broken? Or how did I not lead in a way that they saw that because it's important to me? Do they know that it's important?
Cool. Hang on. You mentioned that you track your... I want to know this. So obviously you track all the books that you read.
Yeah.
Are you doing it so on a spreadsheet? Do you write down like your key lessons from each book? Like, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I'm not that structured. I basically take a photo of the book and I send it to my EA and she puts it in the spreadsheet. So,
she's like, read.
Yeah. So basically I just have like books read.
Okay.
And we keep a journal of that. And because on social, if I see someone talk about a book, I'll basically send it to her saying, look, have I got it? Because I got a whole cupboard full of books that I haven't read yet. Like, every time I see one that I want to read, I'll send it to her and she'll order it. Like, Amazon's our best friend. Like, I get books every week and then it goes in the cupboard. And then there are all the different topics. And then, like, at the moment, my coach has got me learning a lot more about wealth and preservation and generational wealth and family office and that sort of stuff. So a lot of the audiobooks and the books that I'm reading, I prefer hardcover books. A lot of that is on that side of it. But there's different phases and stages that I go through where my coach will go, look, go and read, you know, only leadership for this next 2 months, or go and, you know, about scaling up or about process or whatever it is. Like, I've read them all. So I'm very prescriptive again. And I've learnt this from, again, all of the successful people that are like this. They like just consume the one thing you want to learn for that quarter. So if it's process and systems that you want to master, just go and read and study everything on that. Every YouTube video that's credible, every book, like, just I immerse myself into something and learn it and master it. And I don't read one book on it. I'll read like 5 books because they'll all say the same thing but in different ways, and they'll all have different takes.
And you just take the principles from
Just take the bits that are relevant and then implement it.
Yep.
And that's the key. You've got to implement it. Most people read the theory, but they never do anything
They're
with
like,
it.
oh, that's so inspiring.
Yeah, but I immerse in a topic and want to understand the frameworks that all the different people have for it, and then what they've applied to make it work for them, and then go, right, well, how does that then apply to what we do? And then implement. And then, so like I batch in theory, I suppose, in the different topics, but anytime I see a book that someone recommends, I send it to Ethel, my EA, she buys it, turns up at home, it gets put in the cupboard. And then when I go to the stages of what am I focusing on this month or this quarter, I'll just grab all those books that are relevant, look at the ones that I don't have, go and order them, but I keep that list so we don't keep buying the same books. It'd be easy to buy.
Yeah. You mentioned your EA. We're getting to a point now where we're starting to need that to figure out what is structuring our calendar, time blocking, all sorts of things like that. Where, if somebody who is at that point in their business, obviously through TOA you do have it, but it's more on like the more costly side.
Yeah.
Where would you look to do so? Because you don't say like Upwork or something, but I find that's more from like a freelance standpoint. It's not necessarily getting like a longer term team member.
Yeah, look, there's lots of great VA providers out there. Like I coach a few, but there's lots of great companies that do VAs. So I'd just say go and Google, go and interview the different ones. The thing with finding a provider is you want to find a provider that you click with that will help you to scale and grow what you need to. And they're all very different. Their offerings around that. So I think, you know, that's the way. I mean, I can privately give you some names of people that I won't name anyone on this, but there's plenty of people to stay away from as well. But I think for me, what you just said is the virtual assistant / admin support is the first level of the value ladder, which Dan Martell talks about. And we've created one for accountants, which you just want to get out of doing admin. Like I've had an EA now. Ethel's been, this is her 13th year with us with TOA. Prior to that, I've had EAs locally and globally as well for probably 4 or 5 years before that. Like, I couldn't operate without her. Like, when she goes on leave, like, it's just like, I don't know, like, and it's, you know, I'm very effective with my time, and that's one thing that I've really mastered. So, like, when I travel, people are like, where are you staying? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'll hop into the car because the driver will be there waiting for me, and I'll hop in the car, and they're like, oh, are we going to Marco Polo? Are we going? And I'm like, I hope you know, because I don't. I said, I can check if you don't know. And he goes, oh, no, I just wanted to double check. Like, I turn up at the hotel, I'm already pre-checked in. Like, I just get my keys and go to the room.
Wow.
Like, I don't do any of that because it's just not the best use of my time. Like, waiting at a hotel, lining up, all that sort of stuff. Like, and I mean, I call it privileged enough. Like, we travel a lot for work, so a lot of the hotels we travel at, like our team are always staying at, our clients are staying at, like they look after me. Like I went to one
I went
time.
to Marco Polo.
Oh, unbelievable
So
hotel.
when I was insane, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So they upgraded me to like this premium suite just for like some reason. I'm like, holy shit. Because I pay for that out of my own pocket, but basically I stayed in some cheaper ones to start. At the back end of the trip, I was just like 4 and 5 star hotels, and I was
good
like,
hotels, but they're
holy moly.
They're levels. Like I went there, and you know, last time I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I walked in there, and I turned up at like 8 o'clock at night because the flight lands at like 5:30, 6 at night. Travel from the airport to there, and the head of sales and marketing for Marco Polo was waiting for me to arrive.
Wow.
And he knew my wife, so he used to work with my wife years ago, and he said, oh look, I just wanted to come and introduce myself. We appreciate the business you give us, and we hopefully can get some more as well. And I got upgraded to the best room you could have, but like that's the whole thing with it's. Again, that's experience and that's delivery. Like he stayed back 3-4 hours after shift to do that. We're loyal to that hotel. One, it's a really good hotel, but two, the way that they look after us. And that's, you know, I think hotels, to be honest, do this really well. Like every hotel I go in, there's always a card, you know, welcome back, you know, Nick and you know, blah, blah, even if I've only been there once. Hotels just do it well. Like when I walk in the Marco Polo, they obviously had my photo and knew I'd be arriving at a certain time, because as soon as I walked up, it's like, hey, you so Nick? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. I'm like, how do you know? Like, and then, you know, she was like fiddling around, and next thing you know, he's up next. Like, I'm like, hey Nick, how are you? It's like, nice to meet you. I know your wife, Jenna. But I'm like, how the hell do you know all this? Like, but I used to do that with my financial planning clients. Like, I had like a 3-page, people called it stalking, but I would have a 3-page bio on everything about my clients for the first time when I met with them. So they would come in and I'd have everything that they put on social media, online, anywhere, everything I knew about them. So we'd be talking and be like, hey, Isaac, I saw you guys were in, Bali a couple of weeks ago, blah, blah, like, and we'd just be talking. And then the clients they'd stop and they're like, we've never met you, Nick. How do you know like everything about our lives? And I'm like, I care enough to do the research. And like I had people joke, going, it's beyond stalking, isn't it? I'm like, well, if you put it out there, it's available. I care enough to actually go and do the work to understand who you are and what drives you. And it's little stuff like that. And that's where I've learned so much from hotels. Like you turn up and there's the fruit bowl and there's the card. And, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I stopped drinking 2 years this December. So the hotels used to give nice bottles of wine. My EA now says don't put wine and don't put chocolates and crap in the room because it will just destroy it and it shouldn't be. So now they put fruit platters in there. It's little things that actually matter. And I think the hotel industry either nails it or it's a disaster.
So that concept was in a book I read recently called Unreasonable Hospitality from 11 Madison Park. Basically, it's like doing all the extras. So what was it? The customer service is black and white. Hospitality is color. Oh no, unreasonable hospitality is color. So it's the little extras, like just paying for their parking out the front, and just like, oh, your car is here.
Raving Fans is another book.
Similar one as well.
Like it's and that's the difference where I spoke earlier on today around experience versus what you pay as a service. And the businesses that stand out are the ones that provide an experience, not just provide a service. Everyone expects a service, but it's giving them an experience. And it's those little 1%ers, like it's the little things, but those little things just stack. And that's where companies can stand out and win, or you can just be another car detailer or another whatever you are. Like we have heaps of competitors in our space. And, we're not perfect, but I try and stand out. Like everything we do needs to try and stand out. It's like this office. We've got showroom standards. That's one of the things. It's one of our key strategies for our office manager. And every office you go into, we have that because we want it to be at showroom level. But we don't always achieve it, but we strive for that. And I think it's just that little thing. When people come in, they want a great environment to work in. They expect it to be clean. But you go into some offices and they're tight asses and they don't even clean the office, or the owner's cleaning it himself. It's like, that's cool if you don't have the money to do it. But once you get to that point, is just delegate all the work that you shouldn't be spending your time on, like emails, calendar management. Like I'm really efficient when I travel. I don't have to worry about anything. Like my kids, again, this is another lesson going back to my kids. They just see that as me being lazy. Like we've got a house manager at home. She meal preps. She does all of that stuff. Like they just see in some ways that I'm lazy. Like I don't pack my suitcase when I travel. Like she does that. She has a checklist. Like I arrive home and I leave my suitcase and it gets unpacked, it gets washed, it gets like, I couldn't do that 20 years ago, but that's not the best use of my time now. I'd rather spend that with my kids. I'd rather spend that doing things that are actually more meaningful. And it's a $30 task that I can get someone to do now because I've done the work to get to that point. But the whole point of it is where can you maximize your time? Yes, I could do that. And my kids say that I'm lazy at times, but it's only now they're getting older and they truly see what I do. They're like, we get that you're buying back your time. And that's a big thing with this whole concept of most people trade time for money, meaning I work, I get paid. When you start to get a little bit more smarter about it, you trade money for time. And that at the start for me was an EA. Now it's an EA, it's like a house manager at home. It's like, there's all sorts of things. Like, so I've got to that point now where I'm trading money for time. And then you get to a point where you've got money trading money, meaning you've got businesses that run and produce profit without you needing to be involved in it. You use that profit to go and buy other businesses that then creates more profit and you don't need to work in it. It's just a flow-on effect. You just get hit by something.
I don't know.
So you react. I'm thinking, he really gets hit. Yeah. But I think that's the concept. And again, the simple framework that, I've always thought about like that, but Dan Martell frames it, time for money, money for time, and then money for money. So I think that concept is, as you're starting, you need to trade your time to create the money. But now that you're starting to create that, is then, well, how do you get some time back? And EA is like a great one.
Well, what I'm thinking now, because this is the longest podcast we've ever run, is I normally edit the podcast and I've been building out the playbook. So I'm like, this is going to go like to the back end. They're going to be trained by the time they get to this, and I'm not going to be editing a 2-hour podcast.
Exactly. We'll cut it into 2 and you got 2. But I think that's a great concept around it, is that it's just those stages. Otherwise, like for me, I just got caught in the business where I just kept doing it for 20 years. And 20 years I had a team in 7 countries, and I had thousands of employees, and I was still doing the stuff I was doing when I started, which wasn't great. You happy?
Oh man, this has been
Mate, I just want to keep going, but I don't.
You can come back anytime. I think there's just so many lessons to learn.
Yeah.
I think that, I truly do say that I'm unrelatable to some people, and there's people that, I've got mentor me that are really unrelatable to me. They run $1 billion business. I'm like, and Simon Beard and that, like, dude, like huge, like very unrelatable. But try and take the concepts of, I did the work to get to where I am, and anyone can do that. Like I said earlier, like I'm definitely not the smartest person. I'm definitely not the best person. I just had a real drive and a motivation to be successful and make a difference. And I think if you have that and you have the right intentions, you'll get there. You'll definitely make mistakes along the way. You'll burn people. You'll hurt people unintentionally. But the quicker you can learn, and that's why I love what you guys do, and I've always been a massive supporter of it, because I wish those communities were around when I first started, because you don't have to make the mistakes. You got to drop the ego. Like I was young and egotistical. I thought I was invincible. I didn't want to hear what other people really wanted to say because I thought I knew. And it was because I was too proud. Like I wish now that I just dropped the ego and went, you know what? I just want to be a sponge and learn everything. Like I've read a lot of books. I wish I actually learnt from the mentors themselves, not just when they wrote the book, but I wish I'd met people that could have guided me along the way. And that's what, with the speakers you guys bring in and the things that you do, I think is just so rewarding for people, because you can definitely fast track in business. And the best businesses are not normally like, I meet a lot of owners and people meet me and they're like, Jesus, he's not that smart. Like if he can do it, I can do it. Most people aren't that smart. Like Elon Musk he's another level. There's people that are definitely another level. But majority of people that are successful are really not that special and that gifted. Like Wayne Bennett, best coach ever, like one of the nicest guys I've ever met. But what he teaches is pretty straightforward and simple. But just learn those things and apply them, and just be you, be authentic. I wish in my 20s I dropped the ego. Like I was, we had a PR company. I was trying to get it in the paper. I was trying to get on Channel 9. I was just trying to and that was to validate myself, because I was young and told that I couldn't give advice because no one would listen to you. So I think, that's the one thing I wish I went back on, is just drop the ego and ask more questions and ask for help more often, because people will give you the help and geez, it'll accelerate. And then you'll get to the point where in the future you can then help others. So just keep doing what you guys are doing, keep building community. And I think if you're listening to this and you're not part of a community like this, just go and give it a go. Just get out of your comfort zone and meet people. And I know the people that are around your circle, and they're pretty cool people. So I think there's going to be some people that in 10 years, 20 years would have built some pretty amazing businesses that I'll be able to say, look, I met them when they were nobody. And then they built these things, and you guys will be able to go, you know what? We sort of incubated part of that. Like we were part of that journey and a small part of their story, whether it's ever spoken about or not, that will definitely be.
It'll definitely be spoken about.
Yeah.
It definitely, words can't really express the gratitude that I have for how you were able to accelerate me to where I am today. Genuinely, it's just, and it's not necessarily something tangible or a certain outcome. It's just the whole overall holistic journey to get to it, and then just seeing what a real business actually looks like and how it all functions. So now I know how to do it, how to replicate it, how to teach other people how to do it as well. It's like half the lesson. Like I taught somebody, this is a funny one, the thing you taught us at the workshop we did, find your currency. I basically, after the summit in October, I was talking to somebody, just having a bit of a chat, and then this dude, he's doing phenomenally. He's managing a team of about 100 people. He's like, I can't get them to do the things that I want them to do. I'm like, oh, well, I had a chat to one of my mentors not that long ago, and he told me to find the currency. Sometimes if you offer them more money, offer them more salary, it's not necessarily their currency. And he's like, mate, that's the most valuable thing I've heard all day. And then someone literally posted on LinkedIn yesterday saying, last month I met Isaac Wright and he told me this.
Awesome.
And again, it's credit to, it's just flow of knowledge. And you can change some people's lives in a
Speaking of
greater way.
Changing people's lives, do you want to give like a little sneak peek of what's coming next for the next summit?
Okay. Yeah, you want to... So,
You're already halfway there, aren't you?
yeah, just plasters up on the screen, and as everyone just sits there and watches. So obviously we're bringing you back for February 20th for the next
Super
summit,
excited.
and I'm super keen for it. Last time was just before we packed out these training rooms in here,
Yep.
and now we can finally show you the magic trick it is today.
Evolution.
And it's evolved so much, and I feel like we've got the event flow down, everybody's loving it, and it's just a magical moment. So let's give a bit of a sneak peek into what you're going to be showing people at the next summit. What would we like covered?
I mean, you basically do the same thing you did last time, right? The lessons from a 9-figure CEO or the leadership. Like,
There's plenty of lessons and stories to I suppose share. I mean, I've made every mistake there was, so
Yeah.
I think all I can promise is I'll bring everything to it, and it's exciting to see the growth that you guys have had within that community and be able to come and impact it. And I really value what you just said before, because this is something that you'll learn in business is, being an owner and being a founder is very thankless in a lot of ways. Like, it's not often people come and tell you how, an impact you make or anything you do, because that's just sort of your role as an owner. So, and this was something that I learned from that Gold Coast guy that owned all the car yards. He said to me, like, it's thankless. He goes, you get to a position where you've created this thing, but you're on an island by yourself. People are too scared of you because you're seen as this person that you're really not. You're just still, I'm still Nick.
Yeah.
And like, I love the fact of and the reason why, like, I love what you did is that you asked the questions. I was amazed when we ran our conference with our client conference, and every speaker, like, some of them I was like starstruck by, and you were just straight up, hey, I'm Zach, I work for Car. I'm like, this young kid's got like you did what most people wouldn't do. And I think I said it to you after that conference is like your confidence, or whether you had the confidence or not.
I was still shit myself. But
your ability to go and do that is why you actually are doing great things, and you will do great things. And I've always said that, and I like that in people, and I don't do it to get thanked. I don't do it for any other reason than I just love seeing people win. And I love I'm excited by where you guys are going to be in 10, 20 years, and to even be able to say I knew you, let alone have any impact along the way. But for me, I think that's the part of when you're in business, if you genuinely care about your team members, and everyone's got different goals. Like, there's some people here that in 20 years will be just a master of their craft of what they do. They're not going to do what you do, which will be very different. And that's perfectly fine. Like, that's, as long as we can still have an impact on what they do. And I think if you generally, and I think this is the thing with leadership is, and Wayne Bennett was the prime one, he generally cares about the people that play for him. He'll do anything for them. And I'm like that too. I'll do anything to support or help people that are in my team. If you're outside of the team, if you're a direct competitor, no way. But anyone outside of it, like, I'm happy to guide and help and that where I can. I think that just comes from people that are genuine, are like that. I met a guy at Robina once, and I was at a networking event. This is early days when I was probably similar age to you, and I was speaking to him, and then he walked away, this older guy, and he walked away, and they're like, do you realise who that was? I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, he owns like all of Robina, like this building he owns. And I'm like, no way. Like, he was like, I don't dress well, like I dress down, like I'm pretty casual. But I met him and he was just like this. He owned like all these buildings. But he was so genuine and so helpful. And he gave me his mobile number and everything. And I'm like, I didn't realize until after he left, like who he even was. But that's the whole thing is for me, it's about how do you pay back people that are on your journey. So there's people that you guys are a couple of steps ahead of. How do you continue to do what you're doing with Forge to give them what you never had? And then how do they continue to pay that on? And I think that's the flow-on effect of communities. So, yeah. Thanks for having me, boys. It's been long and fun.
Thank you. So who would you like to see next on the Future Leaders podcast to share some of their insights?
Oh, look, there's a bunch of people that I'd love. I'd love to see Emil from NGU Realty. Like, I think I've got to know him over the last probably 6 months through One Life Club that I'm part of now, where I'm a mentor. And, yeah, he's just such a good operator. Like, he's come from nothing. He's built, like, his business is unbelievable. So, yeah, I think stories like that, and immigrants that have come in and just come from nothing and built what they have, and he's pretty black and white like me. He's a good guy, good operator though, but I think success leaves clues. So like someone like him, anyone that, you know, you can learn the success that they've made and then the clues they give you along the way to fast track it. But yeah, I think Emil would be a cracker.
Cool, man. Well, for the people listening at home, where can they find you? Where can they find what you do with TOA?
Yeah, I mean, TOA Global, just on any ChatGPT or social media sites, anywhere you can find us. Yeah, and I'm on all social platforms. So reach out, ask a question if you have any, and I'm more than happy to help where I can.
Cool. Well, Nick, this has been fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank
Nick
you.
Sinclair, everybody.
Thanks for having me, boys.